Howdy, everyone. To start off our discussion today, I'm going to paint you all a very familiar picture. Let's take a step into Starbucks at, let's say, its busiest hour. Um, let's take a note of what we noticed, right? Maybe it's the smell of freshly brewed coffee, the guitar solo over the loudspeaker, um, what we see students studying on laptops drinking their coffee, or simply what we taste, which is our own delicious coffee, right? So what I just did there was name four of our five senses, also known as sensory receptors. Um, Now we organize these sensations in a way that's called perception. So perception is the process by which people select, organize, and interpret these said sensations. It is what we add to the sensations we feel to give it meaning. The perceptual process begins when our brains receive external stimuli. A personal example I would like to use is when I hear the song "Dark Queen" by Lil Uzi Vert. Yes, Lil Uzi Vert. But when I hear the song, I'm thrown back in time into August, and I can feel the cool breezes hitting me in the face as I ride my bike down my street and listen to this beautiful song. Now let's get back onto the Starbucks topic. They use our sensory receptors or our sensations to practice sensory marketing. Our sensory receptors are abilities to see, taste, smell, hear, and touch, which I previously mentioned. Now, sensation refers to the immediate response of our sensory receptors to basic stimuli such as light, color, sounds, odors, textures, for example. This sensory branding is used by companies to elicit memorable and emotional connections with the company's service or product. Sensory marketing uses our senses to hopefully encourage positive feedback or experiences with a product or service. It is simply where companies think carefully about the impact of sensations on our product experiences. Starbucks isn't the only company to practice sensory marketing. I found that the mobile payment service Venmo, for example, uses sensory branding. When Venmo transaction is completed, for example, when I send my mother a request for $25 because I'm a broke college student, I know when my wonderful mother, fulfills that request. I hear a ching type noise through my phone speaker or AirPods. This registers with me, and I feel a sense of happiness, of course, and financial security. When I now think of Venmo or even its parent company PayPal, I think of security and safety for myself and for my finances. Let's now take a look at the perceptual process. First, it starts with exposure that eventually leads to attention, which then finally ends with interpretation. Exposure is when a stimulus comes into a range of a sensory receptor. We often concentrate on some stimuli, are unaware of others, or choose not to acknowledge them. The second stage is attention, which I previously mentioned. Attention refers to the extent to which processing activity is devoted to a particular stimulus. And that could basically be as simple as one of us zoning in and out of class while a lecturer lectures. Finally, is interpretation, or how we assign meaning to certain stimuli. Interpretation is also involved in perceptual positioning strategy. It's a fundamental component of a company's marketing efforts as it uses elements of the marketing mix to influence the consumer's interpretation of its meaning in the marketplace relative to its competitors. Examples could use product design, distributing, or price. Our perception of a brand comprises its features and uses, as well as what we think it says about us as we use it. Lastly, we're going to discuss semiotics. It's a discipline that studies the correspondence signs and symbols and their roles in how we assign meanings. Semiotics can be thought as of four groupings. The first being potentializing and actualizing meanings in the object. Example being product design. The second being potentializing and actualizing meanings around the object. Examples being packaging or brand names. The third being potentializing and actualizing meanings of being and buying there. Examples being physical retail, maybe credit cards or money, tangible, right? The fourth being actualizing meanings through experiences, ownership, and usage. Examples for being clothing, food, vehicles. Now, a semiotic analysis involves the correspondence between stimuli and the meaning of signs. Meaning can be conveyed by a symbol if a community or society is in agreement about it. This is how the field of semiotics helps us to understand how marketers use symbols to create literal and indexical meaning. Now, I want to wrap up, and as my talk comes to an end, I want all of you to think about what has been important so far. First being, perception is a three-stage process that translates raw stimuli into meaning. and how brands create symbols to convey meaning to consumers through semiotics. Thank you. Now, I would like to thank you all for letting me speak to you about the topic of perception. Have a good one.